Okay, so I'm Dr. Logan Miller. I am the provider at North Austin Dentistry, located in North Central Austin, Texas. Been the owner here for about 6 years. We are a general practice, and yeah, it's been a wild ride these first 6 years.
Awesome. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about how your practice was doing, before we started working together?
Yeah, so before we got started, Uh, I took over the practice from a previous doc, and there was a lot of expectations. Those expectations were most definitely not what met, I guess you could say, in terms of how many patients we did have, how much was flowing through the practice, and so when I first met James, it was after a very tumultuous first year and a half, where we had an already small practice and watched it shrink even further. And there was just not much in the way of patient loyalty already in place. There wasn't much in the way of staff retention or staff continuity. And our new patient flow, I think there was 1 month that first year where we had a total of 8 new patients for the whole month. And I remember certain days in my office where I saw 2 patients, and I think it was for cleanings. And so my working capital was bleeding heavily. I was working weekends to try and keep my personal bills and my family afloat. And it was rough. But the funny thing about that though is I was already seeking help at that time. I was working with a lady who said, "Oh yeah, we can get you going with Google AdWords and to get the new patient flow up." And seriously, 8 new patients. I spent I think 3 grand that month and got 8 new patients with 3 grand in Google AdWords. And it was just mind blowing. But when I met James, I was pretty much at a low point. I was borderline insolvent and was blown through my working capital, and I needed a boost badly.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think you had 100% of your budget was allocated to Google AdWords. I think I
Yeah,
remember that
no,
coming up.
that's all it was.
Yeah.
I hired a consultant, and we'll keep it anonymous for that sake. But let's just say that that was the biggest waste of $8,000 of my life. And this was a consultant, not just a marketing consultant. And the best part is I explained to these consultants right at the very beginning, well, what do you need? Well, here's how many patients I see in a day. So I need patients. I need butts in the chair. And as all consultants will tell you. But don't forget that. I'm like, yeah, I know. I need to work on this and that and case presentation and same day care and recall this and that. But I'm like, but the pool, the well from which we draw from is extremely small. I need new patients. And I'm like, I need a plan. And their plan was, well, ask one patient a day for referral, and I can't remember what else it was, but the other one was really stupid too. And so I was like, well, that's what 8 grand gets me. And but through this marketing company, I mean, through this consulting company, I met another client of theirs, and he's like, hey, I use this person for marketing, and she gets me just a massive number of patients. And I'm like, perfect. I would love to meet her. And I met her. And at that time, we were spending, I believe this is excluding her budget, but like $2,000 to $3,000 in Google AdWords per month. And her budget was like, she also charged like $1,800 to like a month to manage it. So we're like $4,800. And listen, this is like a leap of faith where I'm like, okay, I'm about to pull money out of my uh, working capital to pay you in hopes that I get a good ROI right from the beginning. And it wasn't there. And I had a very terse conversation with her after like 2 months. Because the thing about Google Ads is it's supposed to give you that instant return, and it was not there.
Yeah, I remember that. It was pretty wild. I think one of the things that we came up with in our first strategy session was really reallocating that budget and spreading it amongst some different traffic sources. That's
Yes, we did. I remember we kind of split the $3,000 in 3 ways, if I
mhm,
remember right. We did Facebook ads, we did Google ads, and we did mailers.
mhm.
And everybody's demographics are different. The Google ads worked well, the Facebook ads worked really well, and the mailers never took hold.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of just true for my location, my locale in Austin. Maybe it's not, but I've tried mailers in the past, not just only with James, but I've tried mailers in the past with other companies and other ways, and it doesn't work in my area. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's definitely something that's important from a marketing, standpoint is you have to be flexible. There's nothing wrong, with trying different channels to
Yeah.
see if they're going to work in your area, but you have to recognize, when they're not working.
Yeah.
Like I remember even, we tried, some Yelp ads for you for a period of time, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
basically didn't work too well either.
We did a deal with the mafia to
Yeah.
do some Yelp ads, and that did not work very well either. Yes.
Yeah. So I would say, right now, kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but the channels that are really working for us are going to be the Facebook ad campaigns really helped with consistently getting patients in for the hygiene. We have Google AdWords that we're running, and that's giving us kind of a broader spectrum of new patients and some of the services that they're coming in for, and then organic search engine optimization.
Yeah, and that's the biggest one that I can emphasize is that it's really easy to measure Facebook ads. It's really easy to measure Google AdWords because then you can just ask people. But when someone says, "Well, I just Googled you," it's really hard to put a number on that and say, "Well, that's how I found you." Because even though I can throw more money at Facebook ads and more money at Google ads and drive up volume, uh, with SEO, we've put in the same amount of money in SEO probably now for the past year and a half, 2 years, I'll say 2 years, maybe even longer. But I definitely can tell with my marketing reports that I get from Prime Dental Leads is that I can see the organic search traffic just follow that trend where every month it's more and more and more. And I was, if you typed up dentist 78731, I was definitely on page two. There's that many dentists in Austin that you can't even type in your own zip code without being on the second or third page. But now I think I'm number two, if not number one. I think the only one that's maybe number one, but ahead of me is like maybe one other office or the devil themselves, Yelp. But anyways, yes.
Yeah, no, it's a funny story because you're right. It does take time, even if you're doing SEO right before you really start to pay those dividends. And if my memory serves, I think one of the strategies that we had talked about when we first started working with you was you needed patients yesterday. So we really tried to tap into those channels that would get you patients
Yes.
quickly. And then once you're able to kind of build your practice revenue up to where you weren't,
Yes.
on such shaky ground, we could allocate some marketing funds to something that, is a little bit more of a long-term strategy.
Well, that's exactly it. We just got to the point where we had enough of a feel good cushion in terms of the bank account, in terms of cash on hand, where I knew I'd be fine, where we could start saying, okay, let's play the long game now. Let's play the long game. Because the beautiful thing about SEO is that, yeah, you can't just all of a sudden one day like get to number one and then just turn it off because then you'll quickly won't be number one on the search engine. But the work that's been done at that point will generate so much in terms of organic traffic versus with Facebook ads. If tomorrow you're just to turn off the Facebook ads and turn off all the Google ads, like
Mm-hmm.
it's done.
Yeah.
Like you're done. in terms of generating patients that way. But if you keep the search engine optimization, it has lasting value.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I think that's something important to remember. And that's also, one of the reasons why I definitely like to layer it in. I know, we kind of talked about in the beginning, how you were struggling. We visited the other day, and you're actually kind of outgrowing now, the office that you're in. Could you maybe give us a little better idea of where the practice is now?
Yeah. So when I first took over, there were supposed to be about 1,100 patients as what were listed as active. And then when I actually did like a search of how many people were truly seen within that like 12 months of me person in practice, I found out that was more along the lines of 400 and something. But that first year, I think I only had 411 active patients. I was doing all my own hygiene. I was seeing, that first year, maybe 5 patients a day. A great day was when I saw 8. I mean, heaven forbid I see 8 patients in a day where I do, a couple fillings and a few cleanings and all that. But anyways, 8 patients a day was phenomenal. But seeing about 5 or 6 patients a day. So I've grown from that to now that I have, I work 4 days a week. I take Thursdays off to do office work. I have double hygiene every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Once again, take Thursday off. Friday, we're double hygiene. I have 5 operatories. We are getting to the point now where I can't say that 100% of the time all 5 operatories are full. But for the dentists that are listening to this, they know that you always need that extra operatory. And that's why I'm glad I have it, because it gets used all the time. And now that I know that I have that, we're actually working in the process of getting our own building with, we'll be able to have the capacity of up to 12 ops long term. And so we're growing towards that and bringing on an associate as we speak to try and help manage the growth. And we're just trying to keep the momentum going.
That's great. That's great. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to visit with me and kind of talk about your practice. If there are any, other dentists or practices that are watching this that might be on the fence with, trying our services, what would you say to them?
I would say 100%. It would be arrogant and egotistical of me to say that the success that we have at North Austin Dentistry is not, at least in substantial part, due to Prime Dental Leads, to the timeline of when we brought you on and the growth that's happened. Is they know what they're doing. You do not, James, Michelle, everybody over there does not waste your time. They know how to generate new patient leads. They know how to build for the long term. They know how to build for the short term. You just got to be willing to try things because, like I said, demographics are different in every place, but they're willing to look at things from a myriad of angles. Some work, some don't, but I'll tell you what, at the very least, with the things that don't work, at the very least, you'll break even and you'll know. But for those things that do work, you'll see a return on your investment within 12 months of like a 10 to 1, a 20 to 1 within 1 year.
Awesome. Well, again, I appreciate you taking the time to visit with me, and pleasure is all ours. We really appreciate your business.
Okay. Thanks, James. Appreciate it.